Art here, and welcome to another Indie Comics Corner. Today we're going to be looking at the comics of IGNATZ-Nominated Cartoonist, Editor, and Comics Educator, Deanna Soukiasian. Now, Deanna is another friend of mine, another artist I met on Instagram that, we became friendly, and she's a graduate of Savannah College of Art and Design, so she's very much in the pipeline of the Carolina Southern community that I'm in, as far as, how the artistic community seems to work from what I gather. But I really love her work. She's not just a friend of mine. I do own... This is her drawing here. I love this witch here. I do own a piece of art by her. But she has a interesting voice in comics. I think it's similar to mine. It seems to be kind of tied to like, the 90s cartoon revival, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon kind of voice. A little bit of booger humor, which is fun. But she also has like, similar to like David Lynch, where it's like you're looking for the, there's the regular stuff, there's the surface stuff, but what's the underneath stuff? So let's come on over to the drawing table and get a sense of what I mean by that. So let's take a look over here. All right, so we got 3 books by Deanna here. We have Break-In, we have Hell is Only Half Full, and we have The Adventures of Existential Tree, The Treesis. So, as I mentioned before, Deanna is a graduate of Savannah College of Art and Design. These books very much have the sense to me that they were like assignments, which is not a, it's just an observation. We're looking at the layout of everything. There's like a copyright and press information, where it was printed or where it's from. So I imagine like it's a very professional, looking presentation right off the bat. Oops, I don't want to spoil anything. It even says like where it was printed and what type of paper and what type of finish. And then even this, it comes with a little, the Adventures of Existential Tree has a little like thesis statement at the beginning. Deanna has a very professional presentation and a understanding of how comics work. And not only that, she's able to filter her own voice and her own experiences, through the medium. And it's incredibly effective. Like this one, for example, we'll start with this one because we got color here. And it's called Break-In. And it's about 3 boys. We start with a house. I love the colors in this, first of all. And the character designs are fantastic, especially the reliance on just basic shapes. It very much has a Klasky Chupo kind of feel to it. Some of that, like a Squiggle Toon or something like that, like early Simpsons or like Rugrats. Like I said, she's got a lot of that 90s, like, cartoon revival DNA in her work, which is something I absolutely love. Even the like this, something like this looks like it could have been on the What a Cartoon Show, but these guys are exploring the house and a dead body and a little butt there. But I love these expressions on the face, a little bit of a darker kind of Goonies tale. But what I said before, we have a very simple setting, and it's about finding the darkness underneath. It's these boys are literally mining this like domestic kind of house for it. And the simplicity in her work is also something to be said. Like the settings in this are fantastic. Like I wonder if the assignment was work with perspective, because you kind of have a perspective thing going on here, you got a perspective thing going on here. And I would, and if that was the assignment, it looks like she nailed it, because these interiors are incredible. I love the spot colors of the pink, to highlight things. Like if she had left this all green, it would be a little unbalanced, but you have the boys in green, or the boys in pink, the books in pink, and there's a push-pull to this that almost wants you to pull them forward, even though we kind of have them in a walking motion here. And then, you know, it's just very effective, but the simplicity of it is fantastic. And again, love these character designs. It reminds me of like the Squiggle Toon stuff, like home movies or something. Now this one feels like a diary comic. Hell is only half full. But again, we start with a house, and then the inside of the house, you know, like it's just very surreal and like haunting. It seems very personal too, especially with you know, the monster smells like cigarettes and junior mints. It's such an oddly specific thing to cite. But yeah, the atmosphere in this is fantastic. I especially love these gray tones in here, the ink washes. It looks like she's using like a square brush possibly and just layering very slowly. So there's a simplicity to this, but there's also like a meditativeness to this in the gray tones. Again, it works in a similar way that she's using those spot colors in Breakin'. Breaking up the panel in the perfect way. You know, these are simple line drawings, you know? And the gray tones really do a lot, especially here to add atmosphere. And also depth, you know, and break up the composition in the panels. And it gives the page contrast. Like when you look at the overall gestalt of your page, you know, it gives it a lot more dynamic, a lot more contrast. But yeah, hell is only half full. This one is perhaps my favorite. It's the most complete kind of comic we have here. And it's also a comic strip. So it's not like a book like this where we have the, you know, the page format like this. It's a, you know, like a strip like you would see in your, well, like you would see in your newspapers if those were really, do they do comics in the newspapers anymore? But there's a little thesis here. It's each generation has faced events that are to be considered transformative as well as harrowing, such as the Great Depression, the Challenger explosion, and the World Trade Center disaster. These events have affected us in ways that are not always obvious. So I'm not going to read the whole thing here, but the following is a compilation of absurdist comic strips depicting death through my own millennial perspective. The idea that the millennial perspective has kind of been just like drenched in like death porn and like fear porn and consuming, you know, these mass casualty events almost as like entertainment. It's reflected in our, you know, fictional action movies, especially in some of the eras she's describing here. You know, the Challenger explosion, you know, you got Schwarzenegger movies happening at that time and stuff. But the adventures of Existential Tree came about while I was finding my place in the world of comics. Tree takes my own irreverence and says it out loud to make you laugh. He has been my mouthpiece in matters of big and small, in matters big and small. He and the subsequent characters in this world all came from people in my life, and how dumb I think they all are, including myself. So I'll just show you a couple of my favorites here. So we start off, I'm having some abdominal pains, says Tree. The shrub doesn't know what to do. Where would that even be? And then he poots. Oof, that's better. You know. Why would he have a butt if we're not even sure if he has you know, an abdomen? Kind of quiet here. Moved into a graveyard. I'll show you my favorite one. This is where it starts really taking off here. So you have the bush here, and he's having a great time smoking in the woods. Throws a cigarette, starts a fire, burns the woods down. He's back to smoking. You shouldn't smoke. It's bad for you. What's it gonna do? Make me gay like the chemicals in the water? This is Raoul. We're in love. I just love Christmas. It's so magical. Christmas trees are murdered trees. There's another one in here that's good. So this is where it kind of reminds me of like Aqua Teen Hunger Force a little bit. It's been so nice having you around. Tree says to Raul. And then an axe just comes and like slices his head off. All right, this is one of my favorites. This one had me laughing out loud. Hey, I heard about the Clinton body count. Pretty wild. I don't know what you're talking about. And there's a laser sight on his head. Never mind. So yeah, that's it. That's Deanna's work. So I think this is where she truly excels. She finds her voice in the comic strip format because, again, it takes what she does really well, which is like working with the simplicity. The gray tones are here, and it's just set up, you know, climax. But, you know, it's beginning, middle, end. The formula is simple, but she's able to just keep it going. So much so that she has a whole entire, like, actual book of these coming out relatively soon. I know she just finished drawing them, so that's something I'm looking forward to reading. I love Tree and Shrub, the Treesis, and I love Deanna's work. All right, so yeah, Deanna. She's a fantastic cartoonist, and what I really love about her work that I have here is that you can very much see the evolution of her finding her voice. You know, I think this one was printed first, but I presented them in a different order. But you can still see bits of, you know, what makes this so good in these. So she's able to work in the comic page format. But I think comic strip is where she really excels at, which, you know, if you are a cartoonist or you are an aspiring cartoonist or comic artist, you know, I think one of the best ways to start understanding comic writing is to just break things down row by row. And I don't know if this is the way they do it at SCAD, to be honest. This is the way this is the, you know, Jason made it up way. But you can see it in something like, you know, why comic strips are so useful. But like, you know, look at just a traditional layout, like a 2x3 or a 4x3 or, you know, whatever, or 3x4. You know, you get 3 panels on top for rows, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. But divide it up into row, like what happens beginning, middle, end of your row that takes you to your next row, and then that should take you to the end of your page. So if you're feeling stuck, try simplifying. Again, simplifying your ideas. Drawing is always about taking something complicated and simplifying it. You're taking something in the round and you're simplifying it to 2D. Cartooning is no different. Making comics is no different. Taking something that should be a little bit more complicated, reducing it to signs and signifiers and a 2D, you know, kind of representation of it. And if you want to even take it back to its base even more, comic strips is where you gotta go. So give it a shot if you're feeling a little creatively stuck. You might just find your voice. So thanks for stopping by, and